Alright, in this lesson we'll talk about the sort values method when called on a data frame. Let's begin by re-executing our code and previewing the first three rows of our NBA dataset with the head method. So as you may recall, whenever we have a series, all we had to do was call sort values on it and it would automatically be sorted. And that's because a series is just a one-dimensional column of data, and Pandas knows that you expect it to sort that series. Now, sorting a data frame is a little bit more complex because Pandas has no clue what column you're referring to whenever you call the sort values method on a data frame. So if I do nba.sortValues and I add my parentheses for every method, let's take a look at the parameters. You can see that the very first parameter that's listed is by, and that's where Pandas is expecting a string, in this case, of the column that we want to sort by. So if we do something like name, it's going to sort the rows and use the values in the name column to do so. So you can see that now the names that are alphabetical, so that starts with A, are going to show up first, and all of the other row values are going to come up with them. So it's going to sort the entire data frame, but it's only going to do it by the values in the name column. And predictably, just like when we call the sort values method on a series, the sort values method on a data frame also has an ascending parameter. It's set to true by default, which means alphabetical on a series of strings. But we can also set it equal to false, and that's going to sort the name column in reverse alphabetical order and sort the rest of the data frame along with it. Let's try out a couple more examples. Let's say we want to sort by a column of, in this case, floating points. Let's say the age column. I can do nba.sortValues, open my parentheses, and the first parameter is by, which is the column that Pandas wants to sort by. So this time I want to sort by age, and you can see that the smallest ages show up at the top. We have these players who are 19 years old, and it proceeds upwards in ascending order to the greatest age. Now if we change this to ascending equals false, when we're dealing with a number like an integer or a floating point, this means descending, which means show the greatest number, or in this case the oldest age first, and then proceed downwards to the smallest age. Let's do one more example with salary. If we do nba.sortValues and we just sort by salary, we're going to get the lowest salaries at the beginning and the greatest salaries at the end. If we want to take a look at, let's say, the top earning NBA players, we can change the ascending parameter to false instead of its default argument of true. And there we have our top earning players in the NBA: Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Carmelo Anthony. Cool. And as with the regular sort values method, this operation is not actually modifying the original data frame until we actually add that in place equals true argument. And only at that point, if I preview NBA immediately afterwards, you can see that now we've sorted it by salary and overwritten the original NBA data frame. Now, to conclude this lesson, I just wanted to emphasize one point that I didn't mention. You may recall that a lot of these columns have null values, those NaN values, and in the last lessons we talked about how to fill those in. But in case we don't fill them in, as we didn't in this lesson, you may be wondering where those Na values will be placed in a sort operation. And the answer is, by default, they're going to be placed at the very end. So if I do NBA and I do .sortValues and I do something like the salary column, what we can see is if I do the tail method here, you can see that it's showing us all of these null values, and that's because it's going to sort in ascending order, which means the smallest salaries show up first. Then it's going to proceed all the way to the highest salary, and only then is it going to store all of the null rows, or the values, or the rows with the null values in the salary column. Those are going to be placed at the very end here, and that's due to an argument here, or a parameter called NA position, and you can see it's set by default to last. So the operation that we just performed is equivalent to writing it out like this. Now if we want to do the opposite, where we want the null values to populate at the top of the data frame, we can change this argument to first. And what that's going to do is it's still going to keep the ascending order for the regular values, but it's going to place the nulls first and when it's done with the nulls, then it's going to begin the sort of the salary values in ascending order. And we can mix and match, by the way. If we want first to have our null values at the very top, and then we want to sort the salary in descending order, so start at the greatest salary and proceed downwards to the smallest salary, something like this will work. So you can see at the very top we have all of our null values in the salary column, and then if I go take a look at my last 5 rows with the tail method, there we have our smallest salary. So it's starting at the greatest salary after all those null values and then proceeding downwards to the smallest salary. So that is the sort values method when called upon a data frame, and in the next lesson we'll take a look at how to sort a data frame by using multiple columns to sort.